to work 'cause we've got two mouths to feed. Oh yeah, my day consists of looking for the remote control you misplaced. Not 'cause you got too much to think. Oh yeah, but wake me up whenever you get back. Don't be late, you know we never wanna wait. Wave goodbye to work and just get home. And don't get stressed, you know.
Yeah. Wow. Welcome back. Welcome back to the 100 number 188. But it's such a
Wow.
it's what's such a fake number though, because we've had presents, we've had,
Yeah.
it's
I think we're due for a clip show though. We've earned that. Like you got to start putting together the clip show from the first 200.
I think we need to dip in the Patreon and just hire someone with our pennies
Uh,
and just be like
yeah.
put together a sizzle reel or something. I don't know what would be on there. Probably my favorite moment would be Parker listing his favorite Instagram models.
Yeah. That was a good one.
Yeah, we're like, what are your childhood crushes? Yeah, this girl, she got an Instagram page. Her name is Jane Smith. Oh, all right. I was just like,
Uh,
all I have is, fucking Joe from Facts of Life, I guess.
yeah. Oh, shout out to Joe.
Yeah, shout out to Joanna Marie Polnicek. Yeah, so today, we're gonna take an episode and we're gonna give acknowledgments to the gods, we
Sure.
love to look back and there was a lot of anniversaries, like Fast Times at Ridgemont High celebrated 40 years, and there's always, a 30, 40, whatever year anniversary, and you look back like Texas Chainsaw Massacre this year, 50 years, like that's
God
crazy,
damn.
right?
Still holds up.
Crazy though, you know?
I'm actually gonna move away from my air conditioner.
There you go. I'm not even picking it up, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, who knows? It's right next to
Uh
it.
yeah, you don't wanna miss this magic.
How that word.
But yeah, so I figured today, we just basically pick I think we did 30, 20, and 10.
Yeah.
So we're gonna talk about an album that came out in 1994, one that came out in 2004, and one that came out in 2014. I figure
hmm
that's a good spread. And then a movie of the same year, so we could just really what I wanted to do. I know you went like a little bit more straightforward. I kind of dipped into like unsung on some of these, like in the crevice, but then some are pretty much on the nose.
You know what? I got a couple of things written here, so I might go on the fly. I might give the straightforward, and then I'll pick another one that I'll actually dip into.
Yeah.
But
So
it was
19.
fun though, going through the Wikipedia pages these years and just scrolling through the months of every film like listed that year, trying to refresh my memory. And sometimes you're like, man, films were so much better then. But like, man, I was looking through the 1994, the early part. I'm like, these movies suck. I'm like, I forgot about that one, this and that. And then you see the same pattern as you get further in the year into the summer, into the fall. They start putting out the bangers. But
The thing is like so many variables go into something like that. I think it's like way less shit to watch back then. We weren't bombarded with like, okay,
sure.
Nicolas Cage just released 18 movies this month, and you're just like, how am I even gonna start watching these? So it's like you
Yeah.
have if a movie came out in 1994, like True Lies, you were able to watch it,
hmm
and like really soak it in. But then you know what? I guess the flip side to that is like it took forever for it to hit home video. So
But
you
oh,
watched it
go
in the
ahead.
theaters. You watched it in the theaters. Maybe you watched it a couple of times if you really liked it. And then from there, you waited for it to get to Blockbuster or the mom and pop shop. Then maybe you could soak it in more. So I guess there's a flip to that. But the immediacy, like right now, like let's say M. Night Shyamalan's movie Trap, that seems pretty cool. Like, but you know, uh, eventually, like in a week or so, it'll probably hit home video and they'll just watch it there. So it's like you just have way too much shit to sort through, and I think you just don't soak it in as much. That's what it is, because something is coming next week that's going to take its place immediately, so you don't have that relationship with a lot of these things. So it's like I feel like when people say, "Oh, movies suck today," it's just like it's just harder to absorb because we have so much of it.
Hmm.
And there's pros and cons to that.
It's funny you just mentioned Nicolas Cage in 14 movies or whatever. Shout out to Russell Crowe too. Do you see like his last couple of decisions? He did that Pope's Exorcist movie, and then he did another movie called like The Exorcism, where he was a
Yeah,
priest, and he's working on the Pope's Exorcist Part 2 right now.
yeah.
That's wild, man.
I think once he got fat, he's just like, I'm just gonna work because eventually people are gonna realize I got really fat.
But three of those movies in a row is wild choices.
He's
But
just
yeah,
like, yeah, like Gerard Butler started taking all his roles, so he's like, I need to like really start working before this guy takes more of my shit. And I
yeah,
think, right, is it Russell Crowe that's in that fucking? Because I know Knox, what's that? Knox Goes Away was that Michael Keaton movie where he's like
yeah, that's
a,
good.
yeah, so
I
so
like
he's like a hitman, and he's got like, like a dementia or like something like that, like a fast going thing. And I think I'll just look. Either Gerard Butler or Russell Crowe have kind of like the same thing where they have this ailment. God damn it. Hmm, maybe it's Gerard. Let me see. Maybe it's Gerard Butler. Gerard Butler, Hitman.
Yeah, I feel like American Gangster was probably the last good movie Russell Crowe was in that I remember.
I
I
feel
could
like,
be wrong.
uh, yeah, it was one of those two guys.
Yeah.
I can't even find it, but it's just basically one of them is like a hitman and he has like Alzheimer's or something. Like one of those things. So it's funny.
Mhm.
But yeah, Knox Goes Away. It's up on HBO, and I waited for that for a while, so I rented it as soon as it hit VOD. I thought it was really, you know what it was? The bar was too high for me. It seemed
Mm.
very cool. I thought the cat, I think James Marsden and Al Pacino. It was cool.
Yeah.
I wanted it like a little bit more, but it was still very good. So, but
Yeah, it's not going to make my list, but it's where I'd recommend it at the same time. But
for sure.
all right,
I
let's jump into this.
I looked at the movies for the year of 1994, and
Mm.
I don't know if you did that for August of
Yeah,
94.
sure.
Uh so just give me your movie, the movie that you went with for 1994.
Well, when you were talking about, I went straight forward when I was texting you before, and I had said Pulp Fiction, and yeah, that's a no-brainer or whatever. We all know that. But I'll dip into another spot. I'm gonna go with Ed Wood.
Mm,
Um, I love Ed Wood. It's one of Burton's best films, if not his best film, in my opinion. That's not just like, the wacky style that he normally does. It's kind of, black and white, bare bones. Depp is fantastic. The story's relatable to anybody. It's Ed Wood who's so passionate about what he wants to do, doesn't even his blinders are up, that it's about pursuing this thing that he loves and doesn't care, and it's something relatable to any of us, in whatever aspect or metaphor. But
we love stuff
it,
like that. Whether
yeah,
it's Anvil or the director of Troll 2.
yeah,
Yeah, we're
because
just
go
like you
do your shit, man.
do
You
your
know what I
thing.
mean?
Yeah.
And a great subcat. Bill Murray's in there. Uh, Martin Landau as Bela Lugosi, so classic. Carlos, all that whole
Oh,
scene,
so that was,
fantastic.
do you remember? I think that's where they took, like when Stern first moved over to Sirius, that was like
Hmm.
that was one of the the prank calls. Like
You.
yeah, they called Carl, right? And
Yes.
he's like, Carl? No, he was saying Karloff. He's like, Carl? Like, yes. And then he's like, he could smell my shit or something. No, Karloff couldn't. Yo, it's so good. Like, if you look up Stern
It's all
Show,
makeup and
yeah,
grunting.
it's like, I'm telling Carl. And she hangs up on him. It's so good. Yeah, 94. That's a good pick right there. I went right. We were done with Ed Wood for you.
Yep, that's it.
So I went with Danny Boyle's movie Shallow Grave. I really recommend this movie. I loved movies like this, like this was probably one of those like HBO findings that, they would play all the time. Did you ever watch it?
I'm trying to think. Break it down for me. I'm gonna try to remember.
Okay, so
Doesn't
it was the first time I saw Ewan McGregor before he did Train Spotting, and so it's like these three people, three roommates, and they decided that they were gonna add a fourth roommate to their flat, and so then they just like pick this random ass dude, and then of course he ends up ODing, right? And then they realize that he has a shitload of fucking money that they have no idea where it came from, right? So then they're like trying to figure out if, like I guess basically the movie is like the couple and then the Ewan McGregor is the third wheel, and they all kind of just kind of deviate, and like they're all kind of like plotting and planning because they're trying to figure out if they want to keep the money. Is it a good idea? Is it a bad idea? Who all this other shit, and so they end up like dismembering. This is all within like the first probably 20 minutes. Dismembering the roommate and
wow. Yeah, I'm
kind of
looking at it. I did not see it, but it looks great. I'm putting it in my queue right now.
yeah, it's just one of those movies that I want to shed light on for anyone that might have missed it. It's just really cool, like very like as they would say, like a dark comedy. It has comedic elements, but it's
Hmm.
also like pretty dark, with the subject matter. And yeah, big fan of that one. So I also looked at the movies here. Let's see what was like number one. So the
Well, I
top
did look up um, the top movie around this week in August, 30 years ago, was the Flintstones movie.
nice that
Was
movie,
that the John Goodman and Rosie O'Donnell trying to pull off Betty Rubble?
Rick
I think.
Moranis. No,
Yep.
yeah. I
Yeah,
think
he was Barney, right?
yeah. I thought you said Rick Moranis. I thought you said I
Rick
misunderstood you.
Moranis should have played uh, Betty more than Rosie O'Donnell. But
Stephen
yeah,
Baldwin.
I did not see that. And the B-52s, I believe, did the theme
Yeah,
song. Yeah.
but Stephen Baldwin before like he you know
Yeah.
fell from the earth.
That's what people were watching.
No, but also like I have like a list of like the box office stuff. So
Oh
94
yeah.
was
Go.
nice was a big year for Forrest Gump,
Sure.
so that was way up there. And this is
You
a
like that movie?
surprise. I liked it. I thought it was
Mm,
good. I didn't like it. It wasn't one of those movies. I was like 16. I was
right.
not I didn't give a fuck. I just saw that and I was just like, eventually I watched it eventually, but it wasn't like something that I gave a fuck about then.
Sure.
A movie I did care about because I liked The Hunt for Red October and Patriot Games was Clear and Present Danger, which was a
Mm.
shock to me that it so it was up by 122 million at this time, which was, I don't know, that's a lot of money. I had no idea that it made this much money and counting.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
I recently did a rewatch of this because it's on HBO, and I really love the plot. I don't know if you've ever watched it. Do you remember this movie?
I remember it, but I don't. I did not see it though.
So it's just great. Like it's really cool, like quasi like political type stuff. In this one, there's like a cartel guy, and he's like close to the US president, and I guess something happened. It's like, like the president's buddy, and then something happens to his buddy, and the
Mhm.
president just goes kind of rogue, and he's just like, hey, man, even though my friend is dirty, fuck you guys. I'm gonna like basically do some damage to you guys, and it was just like this political blowback as to like, well, why is this president like involving, it was just really like a really good story. And man, I did a rewatch and it's great. It's just really cool stuff. Obviously Willem Dafoe is one of the dudes in there, and
Nice.
Harrison Ford.
Of course.
A couple
They
more
all those
here.
kind of movies had that star Harrison Ford.
That's it. He was the man.
Yeah.
A couple more. The Mask did very well.
The
This,
Jim Carrey thing.
yeah,
Didn't see that.
this was peak Cameron Diaz when she first stepped in the scene.
Mm.
True Lies, humongous. I'm looking at the box office of all these movies. It's amazing. The Lion King, The Client, The Little Rascals. Like even The Little Rascals, I'm looking at this. It fucking
Yeah.
made like it was up to like $52 million.
Yeah, I
And
mean, the movies were doing better than paying, the movie theaters and people going to them, plunking it down. It's kind of like, people like the equivalent of people still buying CDs versus now. But yeah, you could make money.
I'm going down the list here for shits and giggles. All the way at number 30, Killing Zoe. You remember that?
Did not see that.
Oh, you never saw Killing
I
Zoe?
don't think so.
Listen, I if I would have remembered that was 94, I would have picked that. Um, that movie is so it was written and directed by Roger Avery. Do you remember that name?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, so he's like Tarantino's like writing partner in for like Pulp Fiction and all his big movies. And this one had Eric Stoltz in it, and so he encounters like these bank robbers in France, and they are complete drug addicts and all have AIDS, so they don't give a fuck. They're out of their minds and shit, and it's really good. It's just like a really good bank robbing movie with lots of drugs and like weird fucking crazy shit. So Killing Zoe.
Nice.
All right, 1994, man. You were great. Let's
Yeah,
go
it
to
was a good year.
let's go to the videotape of here. So what do we got next? So let's do 2004. Oh no, we still have to talk about the goddamn album. God damn it.
Sure.
All right, so I picked the Gravediggers, but I switched it actually. So I'm gonna switch
Okay.
mine because last minute I just this album hit me just the same. But go ahead, you give me your 94 album.
Yeah, my obvious one was Nostalmatic, but man, loaded year. I'm gonna put some shine on to Beastie Boys' Ill Communication, only because really, it's the last good Beastie Boys album for me that I love top to bottom. Uh, and one of those albums too, when it came out, it was you could put it on, everyone was into it. Like if you were hanging out, like Tribe Called Quest, Midnight Marauders, certain albums or whatever, everybody was fucking with the Beastie Boys then that I knew. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's their last great record. I never got, there were singles here and there that I was bumping and stuff, but I never loved an album like, that was the last one I was all in on with the Beastie Boys. What do you think?
Yeah, so like you said, man, certain things were just universal, and Beastie Boys were definitely, they had that good run from Paul's Boutique, Check Your Head, and Ill Communication. Everything after that was cool. The first album is cool.
First
Um,
out, it's like a different band, that first record.
for sure.
Yeah.
But those three, that's the sweet spot. Like when you went to go see them
100.
live, that's what you wanted to hear.
Hmm.
Um, you know, in high school, I remember having a Walkman, and I guess it must have been 10th grade, right? I was listening to two cassettes in this Walkman. One was Souls of Mischief, 93 till Infinity. In particular, the song That's When You Lost. Amazing. It was just a great groove. It felt like the bass line to that was killer. 100 1-800 Suicide by the Gravediggers. Like those were the two cassettes I was listening to the most. But I switched it over to 1994's Pavement's Crooked Rain, Crooked Rain. That album really kind of was another one of those pieces where it made me want to play that style of music. My friends were listening to metal or hardcore and stuff like that. I heard Pavement. I'm like, oh, this is kind of like more of like the direction that got me. This album in particular, I remember taking acid. So me and my friend George, shout out to him, we were tripping out on some acid at my house, and I thought I yeah, what was it? We just couldn't sleep. We were just tripping in my room, and like my mom woke
That'll
up,
happen.
and my mom fucking woke up, and like she was just like, talking to us, and I was just like, yo, I can't just sit in this room and fucking trip out. And then he's like, really? He's like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, I have no idea. And I just made him walk, and we walked to the woods, and we just sat there, and he had one fucking headphone and this cassette. We had Pavement, Crooked Rain, Crooked Rain, and I had one side of the headphone and he had the other side, and we listened to it for like probably 3 hours back to like it's just ridiculous. So that's what we were doing. And
Wow.
I know they had that big song Cut Your Hair,
Yeah.
and I feel like, listen, I could have picked a bunch of like famous albums from 94 that people already know about, but this album was like special to me, and people know Cut Your Hair, and they might have just stopped there, might have been like, hey, this is like a one hit wonder or whatever, but the whole record is like really, really, really good. I fucking love it.
Are they still around?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so they broke up in 1999. That was like their last album. And then he went on to do like solo stuff. So are they around? Technically, yes, because they started doing reunion shows last year. But no, yeah, I guess they're not like around, but
Right.
they're around in the last couple of years just doing reunion shows that have all been doing very well. Okay, so the top five let's go through the top 10 albums this month on
I
the
will.
Billboard.
I'll interject this time exactly this week, 30 years ago. Everyone, Lisa Loeb's "Stay." That was the number one single in the
Oh, the
country.
single. You got the single. Good, 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 good. Because I don't
And
have that.
from the movie Reality Bites, which I loved back in the day because I love Winona Ryder, but it's a ridiculous film. I don't know if you've watched it like
I've never
as
seen
an
it.
adult. You never seen it? It's
No.
such a fucking time capsule and shit, but it's ridiculous. But yeah, Lisa Loeb's "Stay" and then the Lion King soundtrack was the number one album
Yeah,
selling
I have the
currently.
albums. So unrelated note, yet related. My friend Johnny hit me up today. He's in town because he like does like junkets, right? So like when these people have these big movies and they film this press stuff. So he's in town doing the Beetlejuice thing, and I was like, "Is Winona Ryder really tiny?" He's like, "I've met her before, and she is." So I
Lucky
thought that was fun.
bastard.
And then he like sent me a picture of like I'll send you the picture. It's like I guess it's like the set that I guess they're doing the interviews in with the guy with the little head, and it's cool.
Beetlejuice,
Yeah.
the real Beetlejuice.
No, the shrunken head guy.
Yeah,
Oh
I know.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh,
that's what he's. Yeah,
you mean
that's his
Lester?
origin story.
You mean Lester Green? Yeah.
Of course.
All right. So in '94, yeah, you said Lion King, Forrest Gump, which we mentioned, Ace of Base album, Warren G, Regulate G Funk Era, Purple
Mm-hmm.
by the Stone Temple Pilots. We have August and Everything After, Counting Crows. Let's see, number 7 was Voodoo Lounge, Rolling Stones. Number 8 was Super Unknown, Soundgarden, and
Of course.
Candlebox coming in at number 9, and of course, here we go, Tim McGraw. Who the fuck is that? I don't know. Not a Moment Too Soon coming in at number 10.
Tim McGraw. You know, it's funny. Watching some of those hair metal docs and stuff, and the whole running theme that always is the grunge killed hair metal and blah blah blah. And I can't remember who made the point of like, country with Garth Brooks and shit had
Oh,
a fucking hand in that because that shit came out of nowhere. And then all of a sudden, I'm working at Record World in Riverhead, and then all of a sudden, people wanting a, some country guy's record like by the fistful. I'm
it
like, what
was
is this?
it was that that Tyler Measom documentary, I Want to Rock.
Yes.
Somebody maybe I forgot who mentioned it, but they're like somebody in that documentary mentioned it, and it was true
Mm.
because I remember going through Billboard magazine, and at that time, Garth Brooks was like the biggest. Garth
Yeah.
Brooks, Clint Black or something. I don't
That
know.
record was number one forever. That one with Friends in Low Places or whatever the fuck it
I
was.
got friends in low.
But fuck that song. God, terrible. But man, it was one of those records like Thriller or some shit that was like number one like for the year it seemed like. But
Yo, I used to like joke around, and to this day, if I call, my friend Bob or Brian or whoever and start singing the lyrics to Garth Brooks, because I remember I just had the CD because my aunt would bring home all these things from Billboard and like a lot of CD samplers, and there was a
Mhm.
song called "The Thunder Rolls." And I just remember all of it. 3:30 in the morning, there's a storm heading in. She's coming
Yeah.
back from somewhere that never should have been, and the thunder rolls.
But isn't the video like it's raining on his
Yeah.
cowboy hat and
Yeah.
shit? So he's
It's
all
raining on his
serious looking,
cowboy hat. Yeah.
dripping off the brim, all
Yeah.
serious and shit.
And then
Yeah.
he had the alter ego that didn't work out.
Yeah, I prefer the Chris Gaines.
Chris Gaines.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see that guy fail at something.
I think he played Saturday Night Live as Chris Gaines.
He did. That thing it just never parlayed.
It was fucking ridiculous, man.
All right, so 2004, we have the same movie probably.
Yes.
All right. Go ahead, give us Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah, so I had Napoleon Dynamite. I could pick another one because I got a couple written down here. I
Go
can
ahead.
talk on Shaun of the Dead. I mean, one of the greatest horror comedies of all time, and which isn't always an easy genre to do because was found, it was done wrong before Shaun of the Dead. I can't think like, there was a couple here and there. I was never a fan. I don't know when scary movies came out. I think those were later, but it was always either
Return of the Living Dead is the like
yes.
that's the GOAT.
Okay, yeah, that's the shit. But a lot of people, it's either lacking in the comedy section or it's lacking or it's not enough gore or whatever like this.
Well,
But
yeah,
this thing,
then they got it wrong in the second movie because everyone hated Return of the
yes,
Living Dead too, where it's like
totally.
way too much funny.
Right. You got to walk the line and stuff. And these guys, and Sean and Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, I mean, they knock it out of the park. And it's so, you can tell it's done by people who are very respectful of the genre, not like pointing, making fun of like their part of it. There's little Romero or hardware or whatever the fuck, all these little Easter eggs in it. And it works as a horror movie. The zombies look great, some fun kills in there, and it's fucking funny as hell.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's a fucking classic, and like you said, it was done by people that definitely had the nods, like the Easter
Edgar
eggs.
Wright. I didn't even say Edgar Wright there.
Oh yeah, Edgar Wright,
Yeah.
absolutely,
Yep.
yeah, for sure. So I went with Napoleon Dynamite. It's a weird movie because it's hard to really explain. Like, you either watch it and understand how subtle everything that movie is. It's just like this subtle, like, you know, I just remember watching it in theaters and just almost like understanding everything about it. Like the shit that
Yeah.
wasn't so like someone like my girlfriend hated it. She's like the movie's depressing. And it's like it's really hard to explain these characters when something as simple as the lady, when Uncle Rico's selling her that that ship and the glass,
Wow.
and then she just like turns, she's like, I want, like, it's so dumb, but
Yeah.
it's so good. And those are the things that you're supposed to catch on.
You know what it is? They're joking through the whole movie is funny.
Yeah,
Everything in it is fucking funny, but none of it's like, oh, here's the laugh, and then it's downtime. It's just on a constant level of humor that's just always like one of the most rewatchable movies I think in history for me. Anytime it's on, I'll watch that shit.
even so the casting is what really sold it. you know, when they go to make extra money in that chicken farm and that old farmer, I feel like they just found him farming.
Yeah.
And they,
Oh yeah. That
and
guy's not
they-
an actor.
he's definitely not. His IMDb is empty as fuck. But like, and like, he's just like, do these chickens have large talons? And it was just like, what the fuck? Like, it's not funny, but it's funny. Like everything
Yeah.
about it is just
Absurd.
fucking, you know, like Uncle Rico is sitting there and he's just like, how much do you want to bet I could throw this football over them mountains? And then like, I don't know, like Kip is just sitting there going like, that's what I'm talking about. Like
Yeah.
it's just so ridiculous.
It's fucking brilliant. And it looks like nothing else like at the time, you know. It was odd. Like you couldn't tell what time period it was supposed to be in. Like, but the clothes were so like ugly, but there's a like warm beauty to it. I don't know. It's a perfect movie for me.
It is, and like I said, it's just I can't think of many movies that you watch and you're like it when someone tells me they don't like it, I'm like, I get it, but it's hard to really articulate. You either just feel it right away or you don't. Like
Mm.
there was something just so relatable about that whole fucking movie, you know, like Summer Wheatley, like it just everything about it. Vote for Pedro,
So
fucking
her
Oh yeah,
boyfriend that always had that like
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
even know what he was doing. He looked ridiculous face, shaking his head like he's fucking
yeah.
great. And
And then Jamiroquai, like that song was great. The dance
fuck yeah,
song,
sure.
even like the VHS, like Dequan's like dance moves or something. Like every bit of that movie was just too fucking perfect. And
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know. I need to
yeah,
rewatch soon.
me too.
So 2004. Let's see what we got going on here.
Well, I can tell you the number one movie, you know, 20 years ago, currently,
Okay.
was Alien versus Predator,
Oh, interesting. So
which
that's topical. That's
I
topical.
remember being horrible, but well, I just posted that Alien thing in order, and now, like I said, I feel like I want to watch all the Alien movies, even the ones I didn't like the first time.
Uh, you know, I didn't know. All right, so I for some reason I feel like I watch Alien and Aliens enough, right? So just recently I'm like, let me watch three because it's been a while and David Fincher. And I totally didn't even realize like 70s, 80s, and 90s. The first three movies are in three different decades with three different directors. And Alien 3 was just great. You know, I forgot how good it was, and it made me almost want to just keep going into Resurrection, but I had no idea. Once you posted that, I was like, oh, so Alien versus Predator technically is the first thing in this lineage. So it just, I started watching it yesterday and I got to finish it. Like I'm 30 minutes in, and Bishop is like the character. You remember that, right? Lance Henriksen was in there.
Yes, sure.
So, yeah, it's fucking wild because if you would have told me when did Alien vs Predator come out, I would have told you it was like 2016 or something. And then I saw it was 2004. I was like, wow, it's been 20 years. And I
Yeah.
still just had no urge to ever watch it until somebody posted a picture about it.
You know what it is? The 70s, 80s, 90s are so distinct to me and separate, and I know all that shit. I feel everything after 2000 feels like just a couple of years ago.
Yeah, yeah, it is true. You're right. So a couple of box office things here for 2004. I guess the biggest thing was Shrek 2 and Spider-Man 2. Just fucking like through the
Ugh,
roof. Like $500 million for Shrek. Passion of the
wow.
Christ. Passion of the Christ clocking in at like almost $400 million.
Of course, people were seeing that movie like 18 times, like people that were all about that life.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you know what that's what I'm saying. Yeah, return customers for sure. But a lot of these movies were terrible. Harry Potter and the Prisoners of whatever the fuck, The
Don't say a
Incredibles,
word about that shit.
The
I'll
Day
fight
After
you.
Tomorrow,
I'll
really,
fight you, bro.
The Day After Tomorrow.
Me and my
The
son have been seeing them re-released in the theaters because we read them together and shit. But
Okay, so you
you'd
like
have
those
to
for
be into it. Yeah, yeah. I think it's a good franchise, but you'd have to be about that shit. You would not like that shit.
No,
Some wizards and castles and shit. You're out.
but everything on here, like Shark Tale, I don't even know what that is. The Polar Express.
That was a shitty fucking animated movie. Robert De Niro, I think, was a voice in it, and the animation looked like shit. It was just everybody was trying to like Shrek was making bank, and that was Pixar doing shit then, I
Maybe it's like
guess.
DreamWorks or something.
Yeah, I think Shark Tale or whatever the fuck it was looked like shit, and I think it was panned. But
I'm going through the rest here. God, Kill
you
Bill
got
Volume
served.
2, Big
Oh yeah,
Fish,
Volume Two.
Big Fish over here.
Big Fish was a
Uh,
good one. Dawn of the Dead remake, very good remake.
yeah. Eternal Sunshine. Was that really? No. Oh,
Yeah.
two. I'm thinking. I'm still in '94 like a moron. Okay, that makes sense. Uh, cool. All right, so let's go 2004 album. What'd you pick?
Yeah, I was going through all these titles. I'm like, God, what the hell was I listening to then? Uh, but I am gonna. I originally had Interpol Antics down there, um, but that would be kind of cheating because I kind of came back to that album. Me and my boy listened to that a lot, but I love that record. But so I'm going to talk about Probot, which is a side project of Dave Grohl doing paying homage to a lot of his heavy metal heroes. And the beauty of it is when he gets like Kronos from Venom, he writes a song that sounds like an old fucking Venom song. The song "Shake Your Blood" with Lemmy, that sounds like a Motorhead song.
That
And
sounds.
everybody he catered to their style, and it's a killer record. It's a killer metal record. I wish he made a part two.
Yeah, that album. It is really crazy when you think about like he's like, I'm going to make an album with these singers, and it's gonna work.
Mm.
I could have sworn it was 2003, but it's not.
I got it off of Wikipedia, 2004.
Okay, maybe you're
Double
right.
check it.
King Diamond and Jack Black were like the hidden track, I think.
King
Uh,
Diamond was on there. Tom
C-
G. Warrior,
COC. Uh,
Wino.
but yo, I'm telling you, like that Shake Your Blood was so good. Like that
Awesome.
was a really fucking good song, man.
It was February 2004.
Okay.
Yeah, there's some good cuts on it. It's great. I would love
Bangers.
to hear him do it again.
Uh all right, so for me, 2004, we both were tiptoeing around Arcade Fire Funeral,
Mm,
but
yep.
but I went with, the obvious or maybe not so obvious for everyone. I when I heard The Killers Hot Fuzz, I was like, wow, this is really good. I remember MTV doing like a bit on them when the song Somebody Told Me came out, and it
Mm.
just felt different. I was like, oh, these guys are from Vegas and their music sounded like bright and big and like stadium ready. And then the video was like really cool. And then, to hear Somebody Told Me to Mr. Brightside, I'm like, wow, this is going to be like the biggest band ever. And then I listened to the record and just, like the first six songs, it is definitely front heavy for sure. I think there's like 11 songs on the album, and they come out swinging pretty hard on like the first five, and then there's like like a couple more at the end that are really good. But later on they still managed to crush. And I think Sam's Town, their second album, is even better than this one. But
11 songs.
yeah, so I loved it, and to this day, you put on Mr. Brightside, and people will lose their shit, especially somewhere in the suburbs. It's some,
Yes. For a
so
bar on the Upper West Side full of
yeah,
white girls.
yeah, that's it. They're gonna love it.
And then the number one single of the time,
Let's do it.
Juvenile featuring Soldier Slim, Slow Motion. No idea what that is, but apparently it was the number one single 20 years ago.
That sounds killer. All right, so I have the top 10 albums of 2004 in August.
Yeah.
I have Nora Jones, Feel Like Home.
Well, remember her?
I do. I love that R.A. the Rugged Man shouted her out on one of his songs. I guess when he met her or something.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I forget the name of the song. It's on fuck, I'm forgetting everything. But yeah, he shouts her out. Kanye West comes in at number 2 with College Dropout debuts. Kenny Chesney, speaking of country, I
Ugh.
guess he's country. He looks pretty country.
Ugh,
When the sun
the
goes down.
worst.
Do you know that guy?
No, it's modern country. It's the worst. It's the worst thing that can go in my ears.
I
I
know the
think
name. Yeah. I mean, if you saw this album
it's
cover,
all the Keith Urban, Kenny Ches. Like I don't, I know the names, but
yeah.
it's all the same horse shit. The worst.
Uh, Number 4, Outkast doing the Speaker Box and the Love Below.
Mm,
Obviously when they did that split album.
good one. Not as good
Uh,
as what Andre's doing now, but it's pretty good.
yeah. Long way from the flutes. Number 5, Josh Groban. No idea who that is. I know he's like a solo guy.
He's like one of them. I feel I could be wrong on this. Please hit us up in the comments. But
Yeah.
I think he's like one of those dudes that sings like standards and shit that like moms buy the CDs or something.
Josh
You know what I'm
Groban.
saying?
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Well, he was killing in 2004.
like a new
Uh,
Michael Bolton.
so number 6, we have Harry Connick Jr., Only You.
Another
He's,
one.
he's a crooner.
Yep.
The Beloved, number 7, Evanescence, Fallen. Number 8, we have Twista with Kamikaze. Remember when Twista was
He had a
almost?
second.
Yeah, he had a minute there.
Yeah, that shit was annoying as hell to me.
Another band that
Not like it.
had a moment, Incubus.
Yes.
And then number 10, 2004 Grammy nominees. Wow, that's quite the list here. All right. So let's go to the movie. Oh no, did we do movie? We already did it. God.
Yeah, we did. We're
All
on
right.
2014 now.
2014, man. What movie do you have for that?
I am gonna stick with what I texted just because I've really come to the realization it's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah.
And one of the when Blumhouse could put out a decent movie, but Whiplash with Vern Sillinger as a drum teacher, and maybe even more of a dick than Vern, if you can believe it. But like, oh, just I'm a jazz fan, so I love that. I love the main track that they kept playing and repeating and stuff like that. I love the groove in it. But this high pressure, if anyone hasn't seen it, a high pressure like arts college where, getting a seat in one of this guy's bands, this elite teacher is like what you strive for. But the trade-off is he's an insane, angry, fucking nut job. And where it goes and eventually ends up, that final scene where he tries to embarrass him and then he doesn't get off the stage and fights back at it and kind of wins him over and they have this like fucking musical, I don't know, coming together. It's fucking amazing. I love that movie.
Yeah. So I didn't watch it till probably 2 years ago, or maybe even last year. Uh, and my girlfriend was like, "Oh, you should watch it," and I'm like, "All right." So I did, and I was fucking pretty goddamn blown away. But that is one of the best movies I've seen.
Mm.
That is not my tempo.
I say that shit
Yeah,
all the time till it
not my
gets
tempo,
annoying.
not my tempo.
Are you
Uh,
rushing or are you dragging?
yeah, it's fucking insane. It really is. The car crash, just the direction, like everything about it is just so frantic. And like you said, at the very end when he chumps him,
Mm.
like right before the end, I guess, like he
Yeah,
fucking plays him. Oh, it's so good. It could
yeah,
have ended there, and I would have been like, "Oh, that's pretty funny."
yeah.
Um, but yeah, he's just yeah, man, fucking J.K. Simmons. Who would have thought, right? Like
Mm.
from sucking dick somewhere in fucking Oz to
I don't
just
think he sucked the dick though. Let's
he
be
was getting all right.
clear
Yeah,
about
yeah,
that.
yeah,
You
totally.
know, he
Yeah,
was in control
he
of
was.
Beecher.
Yes, he was receiving. He was receiving.
He made him
Uh,
wear lipstick and shit.
that's right. That's right. My apologies to him. So I got my roles reversed. But he is in everything now. Like you
Yeah,
hear him on commercials, you hear him. He was in fucking everything from Juno to everything. You know,
I
it's just
think Spider-Man put him over. That uh whatever, the fucking angry newspaper guy. I don't know Spider-Man. I don't know the fucking universe that much, but you know that character. You've seen
yeah,
8 million gifs if you haven't seen the movie, but that kind of put him over, I think, into mainstream cinema.
yeah. Well, he killed it. So that's a good one. Um, what the fuck? You know, I went with once again, just a movie that I hope people check out now that it's like 10 years old. I went with The Last Shift.
Mm,
Um,
that did make my short list.
one of the most effective posters too, right? The face with the pentagram like
Yeah,
slashed into it.
sure.
You know, people talk about unsettling or creepy and all this other shit, and a lot of times I just don't find movies like that. It's very rare. And on occasion, I'll find something that is like, wow, this is like super effective with little, like just minimal stuff. I would
Hmm.
say the movie Wounds, the movie Empty Man. There's certain movies that just have like a real eerie, like legitimately, when I say creepy, I feel like everyone says like, "Oh my God, that's so creepy," whatever. This is really fucking well done. You know,
Sure.
it's a new, like a rookie cop, and she's like, she has to like watch over this old precinct that's closing down, and somewhere along the way, it's kind of like a haunted thing. But like the imagery, the quietness, just like it's really, really well done. And that director wanted to remake it with more money. He did something called Malum, which is just
Yeah, it
taken like I guess he just threw more
was
money.
unnecessary.
Did you watch it? I didn't.
Yeah, it's unnecessary. But I guess it's in the same vein of like, what did they do with Evil Dead 2?
They did. Yeah, yeah, and it
Yeah.
worked out for sure, but I just when I saw the trailer to Malum, I was like, I don't want to shit on a movie I didn't see, but I was like, I'm gonna stick with The Last Shift because this is really good. So, it's streaming on pretty much anything if you want to watch it. It's
Yeah, I do want to
yeah,
rewatch it.
like when you think I just did a rewatch maybe like last year. It's just a real like when you want to watch a real horror movie, I think it's a real horror movie. I think it's just really cool. The imagery, the setting of it, it's just like, oh, this is really good. So 2014's The Last Shift was my pick. So let's
Cheap
go.
Thrills came out in 2014.
What else?
Cheap Thrills. Was that
Oh,
2014?
yeah, it might have been.
If it was, people, if you haven't seen that, watch that shit too.
Yeah, pretty much anything Trent Haga has his
Yeah,
fingers
it
in.
might have been the year before. That's I can't remember, but
Oh, you know what? 2013 does sound right. Yeah.
yeah.
So box office 2014.
The number one film at this time was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I guess it was a live action one or something, maybe. Sounds
Maybe.
horrible. Corey Feldman probably did a voice.
Yeah. Now he's doing lots of voices. Good for him.
Corey,
Yeah. We'll get back to Corey. We'll touch on Corey at the very end of the episode. So
can't we
trans.
get him for like some money or something? Won't he do like anything?
Oh yeah, I think so. I think so.
Is it
I
more than Eddie Deason?
Shout out to Eddie Deason though. We'll talk to him soon.
Yes.
The Transformers, Age of Extinction, no clue what that is. The Hobbit, Guardians of the Galaxy. These are movies that are making a lot of money. Maleficent, fucking nothing. Just like really movies I do
Nothing.
not care about. How to Train Your Dragon. Let me keep scrolling.
Trash.
Lego
Life
Movie.
After Beth came out that year. That's a good little horror comedy.
What about
More comedy.
what about Gone Girl? So that's in here.
Gone Girl was good. It Follows. That was a big hit that year, I think.
Yeah, the RoboCop remake. Wow, never even seen it.
The Babadook. Fan of the Babadook, Sam?
Oh, I am. I didn't hate
Are
it.
you? A lot of
Yeah,
people hate it. I liked
nothing.
it.
Nothing's really sticking out to me. Pompeii, Seventh Son. No. Wow. Oh, Birdman. Birdman came out in 2014.
Birdman was great. I like that. I actually rewatched that recently. What We Do in Shadows, the that spawned the TV show, came out
Oh yeah,
that
yeah.
year, I believe. Fantastic.
John Wick. All right, so a bunch of shit here. So let's do album of 2014.
Yes, I had, I don't know, I was teetering between Run the Jewels 2,
Yep.
which might be my favorite Run the Jewels album. But
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm gonna talk Triptychon, Milena Azamata. I don't know, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but it is Tom G. Warrior of Celtic Frost.
Azamat Bagatov.
What's that?
I said Azamat Bagatov.
Yeah, that one. Enrico Palazzo. Um, but it's he's the singer from Celtic Frost who I think is criminally underrated in the his people talk about, like, the legends of metal, and you always get your Ozzies and your Lemmys and whatnot, but Celtic Frost, or Celtic Frost, however you want to pronounce it, is the jumping off point of all the extreme shit. What he did with Hellhammer into Celtic Frost. They were always on doing different shit. It wasn't straight black, what became black metal. It wasn't even a thing then. It spawned a lot of death metal, but then they would jump off and did cover Mexican radio and like off the wall shit that bands of that. Then they, went hairstyle with the Cold Lake record and lost a couple of fans. But anyway, he's very creative. It's long. It's not speed thing. It's very heavy, like in a typo kind of way.
Nice.
Um, he's got a signature voice. It's a shame he works about as fast as Portishead does, because this album I'm talking about is the last record they made. I think they're coming out with something new later this year, which I'm looking forward to. But yeah, it's Triptychon. I'm not going to try to pronounce it again, but it's the last album they made. Yeah.
I wonder what people like that do that have notoriety musically. Like, when it takes them like 10 years to like make an album. It's like, do they like just go to work or something? Like they have like,
It's
you know,
fascinating.
they're like welding somewhere. Maybe they're like, a janitor at a school.
Yeah, like how Beth Gibbons, like what is
Yeah.
she did she bank that much
I
that like
can't
she just put a record out like this year that like for the first like I don't know when since the last Portishead record? I don't even know. Like how do these people
make a living. Yeah. I don't know.
yeah. I mean, I read a good article about that, and this was bands that are active, like Testament, Chuck Billy, the singer. He's
Oh,
like
yeah.
a
Yeah.
a
Security guy.
safety guide.
Yeah.
He teaches like safety classes for like trucking and construction or something, or some kind of field like that. And they tour and put out records every couple of years. So like if you just I don't know, maybe they invested well.
I don't know. I'm sure everyone has a different thing for sure.
Hmm.
So my 2014 album is one of my favorite bands that hasn't put out an album in a while. The singer is off doing her solo stuff. It's Against Me, Transgender Dysphoria Blues. This was a really cool return to like the awesome songwriting. They went away for like 3 years after White Crosses, which is also really good. And somewhere in those 3 years, I guess Tom Gable turned into Laura Jane Grace, and a lot of the songs, have to do with that transgender dysphoria blues, the title track, True Trans Soul Rebel, and in the lyrics, man, like it's pretty touching. You hear somebody who is just being very honest about what they're going through as far as like not knowing, I guess, what body or whatever she's going through, and the song's just fantastic, including the banger that now they play all the time, Black Me Out. Really, really good stuff. Yeah, killer. Against Me, Transgender Dysphoria Blues for me. Uh Now let's look at the list of album.
number one single at
Yeah.
this time is a song called Rude by Magic with an exclamation point, which I had never heard before, so I put it on to see what it was, and it's horrible. It's a fucking terrible song. And then I recognized it because it's that kind of song that's on like in the supermarket or when you walk by someone that's still listening to FM radio or something.
Yo, people like that do that are weird. Like weird. Like I went to my cousin's like kid's birthday party, and maybe that's what you're supposed to do. I guess when you have kids and you don't want to offend people, you just put on the radio. I don't know.
Yeah, that's
Right?
true.
I guess, right? I
Yeah,
have no idea because like
keep
they
it
put on,
safe.
yeah, keep it safe, but it's just like I'm like, yo,
You
I
could just
can't.
put on some Kenny Chesney or something,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, I have 10 albums here
Yeah.
from 2014, and I'm pretty sure they could put on any one of these. So,
Oh
number
boy.
one, we have Miranda Lambert, Platinum.
No, no idea.
She's
Who that is.
she looks like a I don't know something. Female. Maybe country. That sounds about right. Miranda Lambert.
Okay.
Frozen soundtrack. You have a kid. You know this movie probably, right? I don't know it.
Yeah, we saw it and stuff. I remember we had a CD of what was the popular song? We got it from the library. Let It Go. That was the big song, and it had a track at the end. It was like a redone by like Demi Lovato. For some reason, it upset my son like so much. Like the sound of it or whatever it was. If
Yeah.
you put it on, it would like get him really upset. So
Okay.
not a fan of Demi Lovato, I guess.
All right.
But yeah, that song was everywhere.
Oh, everyone's favorite something. Brantley Gilbert, Just As I Am.
What?
Number three. I don't know. We might have to look
Who
that
is
one.
that? I'm gonna
Brant.
look it up now. It sounds country.
Probably.
Brant, is it Brant and
Brant.
then Lee? Like he's got
Yeah.
two names because that's definitely got to be country.
No, it's one word. It's Brant. So it's Brantley. Brantley Gilbert. Just As I Am. If you see the album cover, he definitely looks like he's a country guy.
Country rock.
Number four, Animal Ambition by 50 Cent, debuting this day 2014. You have
I ain't heard
Coldplay.
of 50 records since Get Rich or Die Trying. Probably.
You have Coldplay, Ghost Stories. Now you have, it's funny how these things make it on here.
Hmm.
Various artists. Now that's what I call music, number 50. Oh, here's
Yeah.
here's an interesting last four albums. Led Zeppelin 4 re-entry at no, not
Wow.
Led Zeppelin 4, I'm sorry. Led Zeppelin 1 at number 7. The Fault in Our Stars soundtrack. And then at number 9 and 10, Led Zeppelin 2 and Led Zeppelin 3.
Damn.
Okay.
What is that when they no. When did they come on start streaming? Remember they weren't on up on Spotify or any of that shit, and then they came out and then they all got released.
Maybe, I guess. It's possible that's what it is. So,
Yeah.
but
Not just selling CDs anymore, so I don't know how they factor that shit in.
let's just give a shout out to Fred Durst for being smart enough to get Corey Feldman to open up this tour. When you look at the rest of the lineup that Limp Bizkit took on tour with them,
Yeah.
though I don't think the
Who
four
else is on it?
I don't think the four openers could fill 500 seats by themselves. It's just like people like No Face, Riff Raff, Corey Feldman, and some other group. Like
What's
yeah,
trapped or snapped or
yeah.
like something like that, maybe.
No, no, no. So, but
Hoobastank, Flyleaf.
no, not even, not even. Just like four groups that you've never heard of for the most. I mean, you've heard of Riff Raff, Corey Feldman,
Yeah.
but it's just, I, I don't know if it's like just helping them out because I don't really feel like Limp Bizkit needs help selling
No,
out
they're
these.
hitting that phase where their fans, they've been
Want to see
waving.
them.
now
Yeah.
they're getting a little nostalgic kick, so they're gonna make bank and stuff. And that is Corey going on
First.
after those. He's going on before everybody. He's the
He's
first act.
first. He's the opener.
He's not warming it up right for Limp Bizkit.
No.
I got you.
And I think it's obvious why. I mean, some people say it 1,000 hours is what you need to basically get good at something. And I feel like this guy's been playing music since the 90s, and I really don't think that that theory applies to him, because it's not even like we're shitting on him.
No, because to tie it all into the beginning of the show, man, Ed Wood, it's
Yeah,
the same fucking thing, man. Like
yeah.
he loves it. But it's insane to think to get up in front of those people and and play a solo that you think is good, is objectively terrible to anybody, even if you don't know anything about guitar. That's some balls, man.
It is pretty amazing. It is just like he lives in his own universe, and yeah, I mean, it's just amazing. So, Fred's like, "Hey, open up these shows," and that's why he's been on everyone's radar so much, because of these shows. I guess more eyeballs were there, as opposed to like whatever like random ass like, headlining, local places he was doing. But it's just amazing to see this guy put in so much work to just be this fucking mediocre. It's just
You know what I love when he does when he's like going into his next song and he's like, we're gonna take you back to the and mention some album he did, like random album, like everyone's gonna know it. Like, oh shit, he's gonna play something off Angelic to the Core. We're gonna nobody knows, bro.
yeah, no,
Nobody
no.
knows you have a career.
No, no. And listen, like I said, at the end of the day, this guy's been in 8 movies that I grew up with,
Oh, legends.
you know?
He was on a streak.
He was on a streak like nobody's business.
Lost Boys,
Yeah.
Goonies, Stand By Me. I mean,
Burbs.
License to Drive.
Yeah. Yeah, like I counted 8 movies and I'm just like, yo, these were just bangers, like Gremlins. Like,
Yeah, Jesus, I forgot about that.
yeah, like he's just fucking like, yo, killing it. But yeah, so it's been a lot of fun to watch him. So maybe one
We've
day.
been following him since Howard Stern show doing this shit, you know?
Yo, I
We've
saw
been followers a long
yo,
time.
listen to me. So like on YouTube, I got fed some like nonsense. I guess Corey maybe he was on like the Howie Mandel podcast. And
Okay.
now, you know what it is? Now everyone loves attention, right? So everyone finds like an angle that they could like victimize themselves with. And
Mm.
he's like, "Oh yeah, like Howard like made fun of me and like ruined my career." And then they played that, "What's Up with Youth" or whatever. And I'm thinking like, "Yo, it's just amazing how like all of a sudden now it's like, oh, poor me, like, Howard was mean to me and like made fun of me." And he's like, "Yeah, you had like, like all these like naked people dancing while I was like trying to sing and all this other shit." And I'm just like, "Yo, shut the fuck up. Like what the
That
fuck
little midget in
yeah."
the hula skirt, that shit is
That's the only thing.
ridiculously funny.
That's the only thing that sticks in my head is that fucking
Yeah,
poor
I
little
mean,
midget.
he's obviously a very damaged individual. I mean, God knows what happened to him as a child, you know what I mean? In that
Yeah,
aspect. And then his dad like took all his money and then like who knows what's going on between his ears, man, you know?
but it's just funny how people these days really they like if when I used to go to the doctor, they're like circle anything that's wrong with you, and I'm like, nah, I'm good. Nothing's wrong with me. Now these days, certain people like they circle like 100 things. They're like, oh, I have
Yeah,
everything.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
just like it's just this weird like angle that it's like everyone. It's like it really is like victim culture. It's fucking like amazing. Like, so
You
he's
know
like,
what
oh,
maybe the funniest thing about him is, sorry to interrupt you, is that he refuses to really acknowledge that that he's still doing that Michael Jackson like gimmick, like 1982
if it
still, like
if,
exactly.
if it ain't broke, you know,
It's like you don't see that's all
it's
that
it's
what are
gotten
you
him
doing?
it's gotten him this far. Is it's like
Yeah, look at opening for Limp Bizkit, top of the world, man.
Totally just
You know?
all right. Well, you said it
Yeah,
all.
we have.
So
We'll be
today
back.
we paid, tribute to the gods of the movies and the music that we love. And hopefully we mentioned something that you missed or forgot about
Yeah,
and want to check out again. And until
probably
then,
next time we'll be getting up on some horror soon.
yeah,
Getting horror centric. I celebrate September and October. I don't know about you, but
I have to. I have to. Maybe even the first week in November, depending where it falls,
hell yeah. We'll pick some other franchise and deep dive on it or something.
All right.
Stay tuned.
We'll talk.
Let us know in the comments what we should watch next.
All right.
See you.